There's only 2 more days left of Tao of the day until the weekend, so get your Tao in now. How's it going, everybody? This is Martin John, and this is Jeopardy! No, this is Tao of the day, and what is Tao of the day? It's the moment where you can come up and understand your life in a more reasonable way. That's right. You come up, give me a number between 1 and 81, and I will read you your Tao for the day. What is the Tao Te Ching, you ask? Or what is the Tao? The Tao is the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is a written text. So it's written about 600 BCE and translated by many people. I lean on Stephen Mitchell. Stephen Mitchell is the husband of Brene Brown. If you know her, Stephen Mitchell is a Tao and ancient text sort of scholar, and I read other translations as well. But yeah, that's the one that I lean on the most. And the Tao Te Ching, as I understand it, translates to the canon of reason. This is the collection of all the writings that you need in order to live a reasonable life. And so, if you're looking to live a more of a reasonable life, step up. Give me a number between 1 and 81. What we mean by living a reasonable life is that we're able to understand the world, not so caught up in the identity that we have created around ourselves. Right? We understand the world in a deeper way, in a way that is fluid, and in a way that kind of really looks at things reasonably. And I know that that's kind of an odd phrase. Like, what does it mean to look at something reasonably? Well, it's not reasonable to expect the world to change its language because of how you feel about a certain word or about anything. The world is going to move on, and it's not going to know who you are until you present yourself. And so when we look at the Tao, it's always about like, well, how can we separate ourselves from this separation? And how can we understand that we are one big organism? How can we further understand the depths of the connections that we have with one another? How can we have faith in that? How can we let go and embrace the whole that we are, rather than just looking at the things that we see, rather than just looking at the skin and the body and the gender and all of the identifying markers that we understand each and every one of us to have. That's the work that I try to do every day. And that's the work that I try to bring here onto wisdom. Try to bring this concept of how can you be a little bit more reasonable today? And what's going on in your life that you can look at from a different angle so that you can grow into who you are. Because the identity that you were born as, the boy or girl, and the white or black or Asian or whatever, right? All of that is just, it's just identity. Then when you went to school and you got interested in engineering, you became an engineer. Well, that's just a label too. You are much greater than that. You're magical and you're powerful. But in order to really embody that magic, really embody that power that you hold within you, really embody those godlike qualities, and those God qualities, because some people are a little shy about saying I'm God, but don't be. You are. You definitely are God. You are creating this universe every moment. This moment is going to create the next. And if you take that, and if you live a reasonable life, you can take this moment and create the next in any way that you can. And this isn't about manifesting. This is about understanding that we are part of a whole, understanding that we are part of each other. And the fact that I'm here and that you're hearing this means that there is something here for you. And I want you guys to know that when I talk, what I say and what you hear don't have anything to do with one another. If you hear something other than I say, run with it. Why? Ask yourself, why did I hear that? What am I hearing? You'll never know what I'm actually saying. You're only going to know what you're hearing. So take that and know that that's coming in because of it's you. And the Tao talks a lot about that as well. It talks about this idea of like, what are you perceiving? What are you experiencing? Now know that that's coming from you. Know that that's provisional. Know that that's not something that is universal. This is yours. Now, if you can step into it as yours, well then you have you have been able to achieve something greater than many. Right? So if nobody's going to step up this morning, like right off the bat, I'm going to organize my notes here so I can keep track of everything. And I'm going to start off. I got 7 people in the room. Maybe I can start off with 7. It seems like 7 would be an easy number. I think everybody, many people have probably chose 7. So I'm gonna choose. I'm gonna choose. How many people are here? 7. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and choose 7? It was either 7 or 6 or 8. I was like, oh, I can go somewhere in there. Um, but 7's good. I'm just glancing at it before I start reading it. I'm cheating. I'm cheating. It's a little longer than 6. Hmm. 6 is good. They're all so good. It's so hard to pick. It's like, well, why don't I, instead of 7, why don't I do 49? The master has no mind of her own. She works with the mind of the people. She is good to people who are good. She is also good to people who aren't good. This is true goodness. She trusts people who are trustworthy. She also trusts people who aren't trustworthy. This is true trust. The master's mind is like space. People don't understand her. They look to her and wait. She treats them like her own children. Okay. So 49. The master's mind is like space. People don't understand her. And then it starts with the master has no mind of her own. She works with the mind of the people. So there's this interesting end and beginning here. Right? It ends with the master's mind is like space, and yet it starts with the master has no mind of her own. It's not saying she doesn't have a mind. She doesn't have any mind of her own. Her mind is like space. People don't understand her. They don't understand her because she works with the mind of the people. That's interesting, right? Like I haven't looked at this before in this way. This idea that like this I haven't brought the end to the beginning as I often do. And this one, as it ends with the master's mind is like space, people don't understand her, but it starts with the master has no mind of her own. She works with the mind of the people. If we can not know, if we can get comfortable with not knowing, if we can get comfortable with being in the dark, we'll be able to gather from the ether much more information than we can gather from our intellect. We'll be able to gather from the ether much more connection than we can gather from our intellect and our knowing. We might not know. I know I've done this a lot as an energy healer, as someone who connects with other individuals, like physically at a distance, right, with energy. like 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 I mean, I've had people on my program which I've never met before, and I've been able to give them like a hug and them experience that hug without ever being in the same space as them. Frankie's going to join me. Frankie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. You having a good morning?
Great. Yeah, so far I'm trying to recover a deleted iCloud email from 2020. I'm having the hardest time.
Is this for the courts?
Actually, no, it's not. It's just an email that I have to recover because it was an email that was alleged I never sent. So,
Oh,
or I never, or a document, excuse me, a document.
okay.
I'm
Yeah.
not looking for an email. I'm looking for a document.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, whatever.
Men
Other
who
than
need
that,
to
yeah.
prove their point aren't wise. Why?
They say that when you delete something on the internet, it's never gone. Well, guess what? I, I'm proving otherwise right now.
Well, good, good. Like break the rules, man. Break the
Yeah,
rules.
I met a friend of yours last night, Cecilia. Cecilia, excuse
Cecilia,
me.
yes, Cecilia's wonderful.
Yeah, I jumped on her wisdom kudos last night for a little bit.
Yes, yes.
So very, very nice young lady. Um,
Cecilia's wonderful. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
she's gonna be a guest on my new show that's coming up, the one that you're gonna be on as well. So I'm
Oh,
pretty excited.
wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, she's top notch. She's top notch.
No, yeah, for sure. I agree with you 100%. So yeah, I got a number for you.
Good. Let's dig in.
12.
12. What do you, wait, the internet doesn't work that way. Click, 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 click.
Yeah, the number 12. Is that a
All
good
right.
number?
It's a good number. Colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, and desires wither the heart. The master observes the world but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is as open as the sky. What are your thoughts?
Wow. Every time.
Every
Every
time.
time, Martin Johnson.
Every motherfucking time. Yeah, what are some of your thoughts?
Well,
How
that
how is
particular
this resonating?
very well because it is I mean, I'll just tell you it's the launch date of my new show. So I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to, you know,
Is that today?
ju- the 12th actually.
Oh, the 12th. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it does resonate with me because of the vision part of
That's
it.
a week from today.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So I'm just, just trying to make sure my intuition is correct, which it is
It
based
seems like.
on what you just told me.
Yeah.
So that feels good. It kind of puts me at ease because when you're starting something new, you got the anxiety, the nerves, all that kind of stuff.
You got to do it more often. I never get that shit anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I just
Um,
start new shit all the time. Just start new things all the time. Start,
yeah,
stop, like whatever. Like it's
yeah,
always it's like always push yourself to step into that discomfort, step into that new thing. It's like you and I were dealing with an autoimmune disease that can get us to live under its own influence.
oh
We
my
can
God,
live.
yeah,
We could presuppose that something bad is going to happen,
correct.
and then we can start living our lives in ways that are protective and defensive well before we ever need to be.
Yeah, that's true.
And that could put us in a state of not really being open to try new things and push our own boundaries.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so
Because
I'm really
yeah,
grateful that you're trying new shit, and you're putting yourself out there in new ways.
yeah, and specifically with the whole podcasting thing, I've always, always, always tried podcasting with a co-host because I felt like I needed a co-host, and each and every time it turned out to be not a co-host. It was always the person thought that they were the show, and I was just a guest,
Yeah.
and I would always shut them down. So now I'm going solo because if I go solo, it's mine only. I set my own boundaries, my own rules, regulations, policies, bylaws, whatever you want to call them. And that was actually a suggestion given to me by a professional that's been down that road a few times. and this individual said, quit messing around with trying to have a co-host,
Yeah.
because what they're going to do is they're going to try to leverage and do it for their own benefit, which is true. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I always said, do you want to be a co-host on my show that I created? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then like three shows in, they're taking over, and I'm sitting back going, what are you doing? Like, this is
Right.
my show. So I finally decided I'm going to do my own show,
Yeah.
and I'm going to do a show where each and every show every week is going to be somebody being interviewed. And to my surprise, I should say, I actually was able to book every Thursday up until uh, August.
Well, look at you go.
Um,
See,
I
that's
actually,
the thing.
I lied. I have one date left in July, but for the most part, they're all booked up until August. And I was like,
Yeah.
holy cow! Like I did this on my own, and nobody can take it from me. So I just wanted to, go with the number 12 to see, and when you mentioned the vision, that my vision is it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. You know, when we when we look at this first section of number 12, it goes through these five senses. Your senses, right? Like the colors blind the eye, sounds deafen the ear, flavor numbs the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desire withers the heart. So when we look at that and we look at your story, like there is this desire, right? Desire to have a podcast. And the
Correct.
desire to have a podcast was, first initiated and moved into with this co-host. And every time you tried to do that, your heart was withered because of that desire. Instead of just acting, instead of just being present, you had this desire to do something with someone else. And as you did that, it would just constantly come up short
Yeah, it would
because
backfire on me, right?
right. And then here, like we look colors, sounds, flavors, thoughts, all of those things are part of it. Colors blind the eye, meaning like even the colors of the ideas of the things that you have in your future for what the podcast is, those start to blind the eye. They blind you to your potential and the possibility that you have within yourself. Sounds deafen the ear when you start talking to someone and getting excited about doing something with someone else because you're not alone.
Correct.
They're actually deafening your ear to the message that just go do this thing, man.
Yeah, yeah, you're so right, and it's weird because I'm 43 years old, and my history of growing up wasn't great. That's another show on its own. But I was always pretty much told I wasn't going to be good at anything. So I always have this drive to be the best at everything now because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always go above and beyond and research and read, and what days do people typically listen to podcasts? How long do they listen? What content are they looking for? Et cetera, et cetera. And the people I would ask to come on as a co-host did not do that research, and they would want to change this or change that and change this, and I would be like, that's not going to work. And they would always want to put content out that they would want, and it's like, it's not about what you or I want, it's about what people are going to want to listen to. So there was always headbutting from like the second, third show in, and by show 8 or 9, I didn't even want to record. I was like, this, I don't even want to do this now.
Right.
And I finally started listening to my gut. And after, two shows, I would realize right away, this isn't going to work,
Right.
because everything was great. Oh, yeah, great idea. Thanks for, inviting me and blah, 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 blah. And now I'm so honored and humbled. And then by show 2, they wanted to change this or change that or add this or delete that. And I'm like, I thought you said everything was great. Like, what happened? You know?
Ah, people
So,
blow smoke up your ass.
oh God, man, if I was to tell you how many people have blown smoke up my ass, you would see smoke for hundreds of miles.
I'm telling you.
Um,
I mean, I go on. I mean, I I go on to different, the different social media platforms and stuff, and like I gotta sit through fucking like if I have to be somewhere for like I have to be in a room for like an hour or whatever on one of these social media like social platforms, social audio
Hmm.
platforms, like half an hour of that fucking shit is just people blowing smoke up each other's ass. It's just like, hey guys,
Pretty much.
can we get to the point?
Yeah.
I give a fuck. You want to sit around and circle jerk with everybody? That's cool. I got things to do.
Correct. It's like on wisdom. I'll give you an example. There was this one night I jumped onto a show, and there was quite a few listeners, and I can't remember the title of the show, but when I jumped in and started listening, and I looked at the title, and then I started listening to what was being talked about, it didn't match at all.
Oh,
And
anything
so
about
what?
that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I jumped into the queue, and they brought me on, and I go, I just want to ask a question. And the person said, okay. I go, what exactly is this talk about? And the person responded, it's written right there. And I go, oh. I go, because the person you were just talking to, the conversation had nothing to do with the title of the show. So I was just confused. And they kicked me off and started bashing me. Oh, and sometimes people come up and try to be know it alls and smart alecks and all this other stuff. And I was just asking, a legitimate question like, what is this talk really about?
Yeah,
And
yeah, as I'm gonna pull back from all that only because like it's like
yeah,
we're
yeah,
gonna
I
like
got you.
that's not there's nothing healthy about bitching about stuff like
Oh, no,
even
no, no.
me
I was
like and I'm
just,
not saying that but I'm just saying
yeah,
like it's weird, like even me saying that I didn't know why I said it. It just came out and I was like, huh. But it's about this idea of like blowing smoke up people's ass and like
right.
being, like when like when you're dealing with your audience, when you're dealing with your co-hosts,
Hmm.
they were saying like I'm humbled and I feel great and all of this, and a lot of times when we get into a situation where it's like, the Tao even talks about like not overesteeming great people, not,
Yeah.
when a king gets put into power, don't don't praise him, don't make him feel good with your good words, teach him about the Tao. You
Ah,
know, teach him like don't buy him gifts. Don't tell him he's great. Teach him about the Tao. And
right.
here what we're seeing, and this is what you're realizing in this number 12, is the master observes the world, but trusts his inner vision. Of course, the world is going about its doing its thing.
Correct.
Just like that guy kicks you off his stage or whatever this is called, right? Kicks you off his stage and says smart alecky and says all this stuff and he's being that way, but you can still trust your inner vision. And
Right.
the reason you went up there was honest and innocent. He doesn't
Right.
have to
Okay.
take it that way, but you do know that your vision was innocent, just like your vision for the just like your vision for your podcast. You are following your vision, but you observe the world. You have had to observe the world under many different ways so that you could get to this place where you finally can trust your inner vision.
That's wonderful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
He allows things to come and go. That's important, right?
Right.
Like, you allow things to come and go, whether or not it's here on wisdom where someone's being a dick to you or whatever, you feel that way at least, then you allow it to come and go. Doesn't matter that they want to say that. Doesn't matter that it doesn't make sense. Doesn't matter. You were being innocent. You acted in the way that you best saw fit. Your
Right.
heart is as open as the sky. You are open to being spoken through.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Right? This isn't that you have to be able to sit back and watch this. Watch this unfold. It's not yours, it is being done through you.
Right. You're right. Wow. That's amazing. That's why I love these daily DAOs. They really do help me.
Good, good. And your yes, like your podcast is going to be a success. But you're going to have to open.
I'm just gonna have to let myself be myself for the
That's
first
right.
time.
It will happen.
I'm excited about that, and I appreciate it. And we got 2 seconds left, so I'm gonna say Frankie J out and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Frankie, it's always such a treat to have you on. I'm looking forward to our interview. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you're going to be putting in the world. So yeah, I'm going to jump back to 49. I'm going to read it again, just real quickly, as I was going through it, because I don't remember where I stopped. But the master has no mind of her own. She works with the mind of the people. That's right. She is good to people who are good. She's also good to people who aren't good. That's true goodness. She trusts people who are trustworthy. She also trusts people who aren't trustworthy. This is true trust. The master's mind is like space. People don't understand her. They look to her and wait. She treats them like her own children. Okay, so these beginning and end, this whole like the end eats the beginning, we have this. The master's mind is like space. People don't understand her. Well, the first line is the master has no mind of her own. She works with the mind of the people. And we were talking about this idea of, and I even talked about this with Frankie. Open, stay open. If you can stay open, you will be able to gather information from the ether. You will be able to gather the thoughts of the people. I have had wonderful connections because I'm a Reiki master and I do other things like that. Like the ability to connect with somebody just with mind is profound. And you don't necessarily have to know, right? If you There's only so much that you can know intellectually. There's only so much that you can know and like read. There's only so much you can read. If you learn how to read at 6 and you start reading all of the books in the world, you probably will not be able to get it done before you die, right? So there's only so much information that you can keep in your mind and that you can actually absorb and um and take in, right? Like it's ridiculous. Like if we think about it, like I'm just going to make up some numbers here, but the amount of books that were written between, the beginning of time till 1980 probably has tripled since 1980 till today. I mean, if you think about that, like that's ridiculous how much like how many of you guys have like got a book out there and like have written a book and like how many of you people like know people who've written a book? This is just like yet another, like book is on the market. Like and that's a big Andy is coming up and Sonia I see in line you guys came in. Andy came in just under you, just under the bar. Andy, what's going on? How are you?
Morning.
Good. Oh,
Hi.
love that. Good morning. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm just listening and wanted to join the conversation about pulling shit right out of the ether.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's my number today. We're talking a little bit about pulling shit out of the ether and there's this in this 49. If you'd like to go over 49 with me or do you want a number? Do you have a number?
No, let's go over 49. I don't have a
All
number.
right. All right, I'm gonna read this over, and then we'll just start new. Because sometimes I pick a number for myself, and I never get to go through it because 3 hours later I haven't been able to go back. But um, the master has no mind of her own. She works with the mind of the people. She is good to people who are good. She is also good to people who aren't good. That is true goodness. She trusts people who are trustworthy. She also trusts people who aren't trustworthy. That is true trust. The master's mind is like space. People don't understand her. They look to her and wait. She treats them like her own children.
The master's mind is like space.
So, the interesting thing here, and I do this often, and you probably know, I look at the end and I look at the beginning together. So, the
Mhm.
master's mind is like space, but the first line is the master has no mind of her own.
Right. I like, and I was listening to you speak a little on that before I decided to jump up and engage with you about it, because I have had this conversation a lot in my life about how do you access these things? How do you hold so much memory? And I always say it's not in my head. It's in the ether.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because like words are fucked up, and I think when I hear memory, like I kind of feel like memory is something that's in your head.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, I mean, memory might be because it's based on your experiences, but I mean, this is just I think I was trying to go through towards the bigger idea of the holographic. Like our mind is holographic, like our
Right.
universe is holographic. So everything is in the ether. So all thoughts are shared in the ether. All of the, when you were talking about the books and information, that's all in the ether. And I liked the idea of, you were talking about all the books that have been written, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, nobody goes and manually tries to choose which books they're going to read. They just come to them.
Bingo.
They exactly, like it
Yeah.
comes to them through that space, that the ether,
Right.
and that connection. Like when they were, I like, is this Mitchell that you're reading?
Yes, it's
I
Mitchell.
like the she.
Yeah.
I do. I like the she. It touches me more. I wonder why. But it was interesting because it's such a, because the master doesn't grasp for the earthly knowing. It just exists, and she's sort of one with it.
Yeah. I like this. She has no mind of her own, as if it's like, and we have talked about this before, just like observing it,
Hmm.
right? Like you are just observing the movie of your life. Like you're just sitting back and observing the actions. Like I'm just sitting back and observing Martin do this,
Hmm.
right? It's not that I am here going, Martin is actually doing this. Like actually most of the time when I am done with Tao of the Day, I don't remember it. Like I wasn't, like I was just like watching him do this thing. Like just
Hmm.
like he's interacting. And and the master's mind is like space. People don't understand her. When we look at that line, I always when I talk to people, sometimes here on Wisdom, sometimes out in the world or whatever, it's always like people want to, like there's this podcast episode I did and with this guy Alan, and he says people want to define you because they want to put you in a box,
Hmm.
right? And as soon as like they put you in a box, they have a way of understanding you.
Right, based on their life experiences.
Right. And based on that box that they created around you.
Well, that's the mind. So, like, that's the
Right.
rational thinking mind. And the
Yes.
rational thinking mind doesn't like anything that doesn't fit at all. Because just when they have it down, then it's like, oh shit, but you threw me for a curveball. Because, like, how could you possibly be this way and not and this as well? I mean,
Right.
I love to fuck with people. I do.
Well, and that's what, and see, so we're looking at the beginning and the end so far, but there is this huge chunk in the middle that I think would blow most people for a loop, would throw most people for a loop.
Why?
She's good to
About the
people that are
goodness?
good. Yeah, she's good to people that are good. She's also good to people who aren't good. And I think this would throw most people for a loop. I'm not saying you and I are going to get thrown, or the people that are here on Wisdom and other things like that. But, like this idea that she trusts people who are trustworthy. She also trusts people who aren't trustworthy. That's true trust. So this concept of like true goodness and true trust are kind of sandwiched between not having a mind and your mind being like space.
Mm.
Not having a mind of your own, like being able to give up that ownership of you are doing this. I was just talking to Frankie before you came up, and we addressed this because he's going to be starting a podcast, and like all of these things are about it, and it was just kind of like, hey, can you recognize that you're not the one doing this?
Mhm. You literally have nothing to do with it.
Right.
It just allow it to go through you, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. I heard the end of that.
Yeah, like his heart is as open as the sky, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. Like once you've opened up, then you can allow these things to come through without the judgment, without the
The
right
judgment
and
is your
wrong.
lower self. Like
Right.
it's the and so when you talk about good, huh, what is a good man? You know. But But that's my favorite one.
I
But
know.
seriously, like what is good? Like what is good? Because if you are open and you were talking about staying open with Frankie, I heard that. When you're open, it doesn't matter. Like I have very few people take advantage of me, but people get taken advantage of all the time. So it's about that people can sense when you're open and they don't want to come and pollute that.
Hmm.
You know, you're going to
Yeah, that's
receive.
so.
Go ahead.
Please, that's so true. Like I feel like in my life, like the more open I am, the less shit comes around to fuck with that.
Mhm. Same with trustworthy. Like, what is trust? I mean, if you're trusting in God, if you're trusting in Tao, if you're trusting in whatever, then what is trust? What does it really
Hmm.
matter? Like, if somebody steals your wallet, then they were supposed to steal your wallet.
Right.
So, what's the if somebody is gonna cheat on you in a relationship, then that was the experience that you were meant to have at that time. So it's like, what is it? Like
Yeah.
what is the trust, like the larger trust? And I think just the separation of your shit. And if you don't trust somebody, then what is that? That you're afraid that they are going to disrupt the experience that you have already organized in your little mind. You've organized an experience in your little mind of how you think that it should be. And lack of trust is someone's going to come and fuck this up. And what does your little mind know about any of it?
That's right. You know, as you're talking, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at, we're bringing. I want to bring all this back to the ether. The master has no mind of her own. That means that the people have minds of their own, right? Because that's what's being pointed out here. So she works with the mind of the people, but the singular mind of the people is the ether. Is
Mm,
all of that information, all of that, like from the Akashic records to everything that's going on now, everything that will happen in the future, everything that will ever take place. Like this is the mind. She works with the mind of the people,
mhm,
singular mind. That's the ether.
mhm.
But at the end, we say people don't understand her because her mind is like space. People don't understand her. And so I think we're looking at this idea like the individual people don't understand the master because the master, her mind is like space and it is not her own, right? It's
Right.
not. It's like space because it takes in all of this singular mind that people have contributed to. This is the mind of the people.
And that's why there's not judgment of good or trust or any of that because she has access to the greater mind.
Right.
And I always say people are always acting in their own best interests. And once you can figure that out, and if they're not, then then it's fear. Well, no, they're always acting in their own best interest. Always, always. Even if it's fear and it makes them do shit, like bullshit, they're always
Right.
acting in their own best interest. So if you can know that, then there is no good, evil. It's just this just exists. This is just the existence. This is all just here. The ether, when I think of the ether, I think of space. I can't
Yeah.
describe that. I mean, you just
No.
pull shit out of the ether. Like how many things did you know when you were 7 years old that you just intrinsically knew?
I'm still figuring stuff out that I intrinsically know.
Right.
Like,
And then
it's
you
so
search for
wonderful.
yes. You intrinsically know it and then you have all of these things and you're like, "Well, I know all of these things are true. I just don't know." And then the human game becomes finding the piece of information in the books. And the reason why we choose the books is because they're connected to a human. So that human kind of gives us clues as to what other humans, will all kind of come together. Like a lot of us here have read a lot of the same books, and we've done that. And look at us here. Now we're here in community and we're sharing. And we all started with the intrinsic knowledge that came from the ether. And then we went in search of it here, here in the.
You, when I was younger, and this was before I had read anything, like literally, like this was even before I adopted the phrase "reading is for losers." Like this was like I was not a reader, but in one like summer, like I was described by multiple people as well read, and I never read a book. Like it was ridiculous, and I when they were like, he's so well read, and I was like, I was shocked because I
It
was like,
came from the ether.
it came from everything that I ever had said had come from the ether, and I didn't have access to those books. I didn't even know what books. I didn't know it. Like I still don't know much about psychology and all of that kind of stuff, but I
You're
put
not
it into
missing much.
practice because I don't know anything about like the writings, but like I mean I've run across so much by now, but still like it's this idea that it's in the ether. And you just like if your heart is as open as the sky, as they say, and you don't get yourself kind of bogged down by the colors and the flavors and the tastes and all these things, like you can be present in it.
Mm-hmm. Yup.
So this ends, like I'm going to read the whole last section. The master's mind is like space. People don't understand her. They look to her and wait. She treats them like her own children. That's a that's a thing, right? Like here we like look. They look to her and wait.
Mm-hmm.
They're waiting. Like maybe like this is the people, right? The individuals that are contributing to the mind. They're looking to her and like waiting to see what she'll do. I don't
They
know.
they
She
don't
treats
trust
them
that
like her,
they don't trust they know the way.
yeah. And she treats them like her own children. She could direct them. But I think what the master does is waits until they know.
Right.
And that's why they have to wait.
They only can follow their own path.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you for letting me come up.
Absolutely. I know Sonia was in line. She is no longer in line, but Jennifer is, and then Marcy. Marcy, if you can stick around, please do. I love you, and I would love to chat. Jennifer, how are
Good
you?
morning. Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
very well. Thank you for inviting me up.
Have you and I spoken? I don't believe so.
We haven't. In fact, I will confess this is the first day that I have listened to you, and I'm just so grateful that the ether and the universe and God and everything brought me to this room this morning.
Oh, absolutely. Well, welcome. This is Tao of the Day. This is the first time you're hearing me, so I'm gonna give you a little primer on what this is.
Okay.
I ask those who join me to pick a number between 1 and 81, because there are 81 verses in the Tao Te Ching, and I will then read that verse with you. We'll get an initial reaction and then go through it line by line to see how this kind of resonates with you in your life right now and in my
I'm
life.
resonating so much with the conversation that's already going. Is it okay if we keep that one going?
No,
No?
no.
Oh.
You can pick a number. now, now,
Fine.
now, now,
Granting your premise that I'll hear what I want to hear,
yeah,
regardless of what is said, could
yes,
I pick 49
yes.
and say that I am I just want to say, I guess I could pick another number. I'm not trying to not play by
No,
your
no, no.
rules.
I'm gonna read you a different translation.
Okay.
Okay, so this is 49 by Hogan.
I'm loving this. Thank you.
Okay. The masters don't make up their minds. They turn their thoughts to other people. They are good to good people, and they are good to bad people. This is real goodness. They have faith in the faithful, and they have faith in the unfaithful. This is real faith. The master throws himself into the world completely, forgetting everything he's been told. People pay attention to him because he lives a life of childlike wonder.
Mm. Well, I love that as well. It
That's the
didn't
same
have.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's just a different
So
translation, so it's
no,
coming
I
from a different
appreciate
angle a little bit. But
I
yeah, tell me what
appreciate
your
that
thoughts are.
because I'm new to this. I will
Yeah,
confess.
yeah.
And what I heard in both 49 and 12 when you were speaking with the first gentleman, who forgive me for not remembering his
Frankie.
name, Frankie. Um, there was an openness to both the head and the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And in my line of work, I really work in aligning those two together as well as with the gut. But when we have the head and the heart being open, right, to the universe, to ether, to God, to that sort of direct download of what is, that singular one mind,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, it brings to light, I don't know, I really got the energy of an empath in the
Yeah.
reading.
Mm-hmm.
And when the mind is not her own or his own, the heart is not. Um, it's like an empath takes in all of the energy around them, all of the emotion, all of the everything, right? So it's their head, their heart is not their own in that space, and that kind of spoke to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but let's see here. What could I bring to this conversation rather than just my own ramblings?
No, 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 no. Let's start looking at this translation line by line. Let's break this up a little bit more. So the masters don't make up their mind. They turn their thoughts to other people.
I think that's like when you say it, the end eats the beginning or the beginning eats the end. I can't remember how you said
Yeah.
that. But it ends with the childlike bewilderment, right? And um,
Childlike wonder. Wonder and
wonder.
bewilderment are very different, so I just wanted to clear that.
Forgive me.
No, no,
I
no. I
just
just
read
wanted to make sure.
something
Yeah. Like
earlier today that was talking about the childlike. Anyway, so that wondrous way of looking at the world, right, where everything is brand new, everything is a mystery. What was the first line that I got
the
that you
masters
mentioned?
don't make up their minds.
Right. So what a child has is they come, at least from my experience with working with children, is the beauty of being a child is everything is brand new. You are
Yes.
not coming at it with the jadedness of knowledge. You're not coming at it with the preconceived notion of how it'll turn out. And
Right.
when we extrapolate that out into our adult lives, that is what will either keep us stuck in the shit or allow us to transcend past it into the meaning and the higher learning of even our traumas.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's something here about this whole like childlike wonder and the masters don't make up their minds. They turn their thoughts to other people. I mean, we see all those psychological tests of children and they always kind of like they go off and they do their thing and then all of a sudden they check in with their parent. They just kind of like look over and say, "Yep, I'm still safe."
Mm-hmm.
And then they go back to doing what they do, and then they check back in a little bit more time, and then and sometimes some children have to come back and make sure that that's there because they have these experiences in which make them make up their mind before they went out to play. They made up their mind that they're not safe because
Yeah.
maybe they have trauma. Right. And this is an interesting aspect, especially when we take this and the Stephen Mitchell translation that talks about the master treats the people like their own children. We are not always prepared to be parents, right? Like, but every child is going to come into the world and have the experience that they're going to have. And the minute they start making up their mind is the minute they start to lose themselves. Little by little, they lose that sense of connection to all that is, and that connection to that deep safety that we are born with intrinsically.
Mm,
And our life, yes,
interesting.
our life is going to have hardships, but those hardships come because we've made up our mind. We've made up our mind of what is good and what is bad.
Or our minds are made up for us before we're able to discern that ability, right? Like,
Those, yeah, those come into play. Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of phobias are from passed down from a parent's reaction to, let's just say, a spider, right?
Right.
The way a mother reacts to a spider in front of her baby determines that that baby grows up being afraid of spiders, you know?
Right. And
Um,
then when they become adults, they continue, whether they are conscious or unconscious of this, they continue to reinforce that, which becomes a choice.
and there are some vibrational, generational traumas or experiences that get passed down even
Yep.
just through the fabric of our beings, through the birthing process, that, you know, a child doesn't even have to witness the fear in a parent to live the life of that experience.
Absolutely. I mean, the cell that made you was in the womb of your grandmother.
Yes.
So the trauma that that cell had is a trauma that is within you. And if you do not do the work to release that, then you will live under its influence.
It's the beauty of the generational work that we do, right? When you say
Absolutely.
that we treat them all like our children, in that, if we break it down into the individual of who we are, how is it that we treat everybody else like our children? And for me, as a non parent, it really comes into the work that I do with my clients, right?
Well, it's the work you do in your mind because you
Mm,
are contributing to the ether.
right.
You would never have to have had a client in order to benefit millions of people because of the work you're doing within the ether of your experience.
Oh, thank you for that gift.
And so this continues, and this is the meat that Andy and I were talking about. They are good to people who are good. They are good to good people. They are good to bad people. This is real goodness. They have faith in the faithful. They have faith in the unfaithful. This is real faith.
Right. I live in that space daily, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. You know, and it's important because the thing is if you, like, the moment you describe somebody as good or bad, you're already making up your mind.
Hmm.
You know, and if you can overcome, like, I think this person is bad and I'm going to help them, well, it may very well be that you're helping them for your own, yeah,
Selfishness.
right? Like,
Yeah.
now it's like, look at how good I am.
Ego. Yeah,
Look at
yeah,
how good I am. I'm helping the bad people. But if
yeah.
you can get to a place where it's like, it isn't about that. It is, you are good, period. You have faith, period. And you don't make up your mind. You don't make up your mind whether someone is faithful or good or bad. You turn your thoughts, they turn their thoughts to other people. You're always looking outward, always saying,
Mm.
okay, and observing what is going on here. Like, for yourself, what is going on with me, and what am I, how can I observe the doings of this person, this separate person that I am, even because we're not separate. And so when you can get into that space of just observing, you can allow all of that to unfold.
I like to observe for looking for the similarities, right? Like, how am I exactly like this person in front of me? And the
Mm.
separateness may make itself obvious eventually if it becomes necessary. But really, I think if humans could look for the similarities in each other, um, There'd be a lot less road rage.
That's probably true. That's beautiful. See, and this is where like this one wraps up, and it's funny, like you're talking about road rage and like putting yourself in the world and whatnot. The master throws himself into the world completely, forgetting everything he's been told. What? Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine like forgetting what good and bad are? Can
I
you
wish.
imagine that you can forget differences
Yeah.
and even similarities? Can you imagine forgetting that you are similar to everybody and that they are just who they are?
Mm.
And you are just who you are, and you have a right to do that, to be you, and so do they.
Yeah. Shine on.
This one wraps up. People pay attention to him, the master, because he lives a life of childlike wonder.
Mm.
You know, children, when you get in, like they're energetically attuned. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
can energetically kind of touch, and they know if they're safe or if they're not safe. But their safety and their not safety doesn't have anything to do with this person being bad. They're not saying that person is bad. They're saying I'm not safe. And when we change as we grow to be the victim of other people and their energy, rather than recognizing that the energy is talking about me and my condition in this moment, that's when judgment, comparison, and all of these other things start to arise. They don't exist. What exists is you and your condition and your state.
Mm. I like that.
Any final thoughts?
I'm just grateful. Thank you for spending this time with me, helping me understand better this beautiful, I don't know the right term because, to be honest, this is my first foray into the Tao, and I, I don't want to sound any dumber than I already have.
Oh, come now. Come now.
Come now.
You're making up your mind, girl. Just
Oh,
be here
no,
now.
I
That's an
am
Andy
a,
Scarantino. I'm stealing that from Andy. Like she
there you go.
definitely she's told me this many times. Be here now. Be here
I
now.
love it. It is my
Yeah.
goal to always know that we are only here and it is only now. There is no other time and there is no other place.
That's right. That's right.
So thank you. It's
Jennifer, it
so nice
was
to meet you, Martin John.
and can I ask how do you pronounce that middle name?
Ibbotson. It's a maiden
Ibbotson.
name that
Okay.
it's a long story.
Well, everyone's got a
We've
long
got
story. I don't want the
20
story.
seconds.
I
Come on.
couldn't
Yeah,
read it.
Ibbotson. Yeah, it's Irish.
Ibbotson. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. And then Rodriguez. I'm a
Yeah.
Garcia, so we have. Is Rodriguez Hispanic?
I'm married. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Good.
Thank you.
Keep the Hispanic names going. Love you.
As much as I can. Love you.
Okay, Marcy. And then Kelly, my buddy Kelly, if you can hang out for 15 minutes, of course I want to speak with you. Um,
I'm Martin John.
Marcy, how you doing?
Good. I have 9 minutes.
You have 9 minutes. All
I have
right.
8 minutes. 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
Yeah.
Marcy, I need a number real quick.
Pick a number.
Luna, hurry up.
21.
21. Okay, 21 says, the master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. This is what gives her radiance. The Tao is ungraspable. How can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas. The Tao is dark and unfathomable. How can it make her radiant? Because she lets it. Since before time and space were, the Tao is. It is beyond is and is not. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see.
Explain.
Thoughts? Explain. I will. We will. I will just keep going, and you butt in whenever you want.
Okay.
So the master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. This is what gives her radiance. Okay, that's just making a statement. It's just like,
Right.
okay, this is what the master is. We are always looking to understand what the master does because that's the direction that we are going. So this
Okay.
is a place where it's like, okay, this is what the master does. Now, we have the question as, non-masters. Wait a minute. If the Tao is amazing, how can she keep her mind with it? At one with it, like that can't be possible because we've already read many times that the Tao is unfathomable.
Right.
Right? We can't grasp it. So how does the Tao is ungraspable? How can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas.
Ooh, okay. That just resonated. Got it.
Right. So now it's like every time we have an idea, we can't cling to it. Yes, this idea might exist right now, but the moment we try to cling to it, just like I was talking with Jennifer a second ago, this idea of, oh, these are good people, these are bad people, this is a good thing, this is a bad thing, this is right, this is wrong, all of those. Those are ideas that we cling to.
Right.
So then, going back to that first, it gives her her radiance. Wait a minute now. The Tao is dark and unfathomable. Like nobody can. Like how is this thing? Like it is the void. It is the
Oh,
lack of everything. It is the thing that can absorb everything. How can it make her radiant? Because
okay.
she lets
So
it.
that's okay. All right. So this is in conversations I've had, and I think I've mentioned this to you before, where people will tell me, Marcella, you're such a light. And I say, but I don't feel like the light. I don't want to be the light. I want to be that person who does the shadow work with you. I want to be deep down in the dark with you. And everyone still says, you're the light. So in being there in the dark, in going deep, I become a light.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yes. Yeah. And you become a light because you let the darkness in.
Correct.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because how can it make, if it's dark and unfathomable, how can it make her radiant? Because she lets it do that. You're not the one doing.
Right.
It is the one doing for you. And that light is just part of the void that is Tao. And you get to be that. Like we all get to be. I heard Dr. Rao tell a story the other day about like a guy who said, he saw a priest and he went to the priest. He was like, oh my God, you must be you are such a great man to give up all of the worldly possessions for God. And the priest said, no, you're the great man. You gave up God for worldly possessions. And it
Oof.
was like this, like, what? Like, come on now. like really turning because you gave up everything for stuff that you can see.
Right.
Since before time and space were, the Tao is. This is one of my favorite lines in the fact, in as it relates to time, because
Right.
time and space, they don't exist.
Exactly.
And the Tao existed before it, so the Tao is. The Tao is right now, and right now is every moment ever had.
Okay.
It is beyond is and is not. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see.
Got it.
And that's where we end, but I look inside. And inside, what is inside? The Tao. We are always at one with the
All of
Tao.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, every one of us.
Wow. Okay.
That was like rapid Tao for you and Luna
That
today.
was that was deep too.
Yeah, I'm glad
No,
we
I
got
mean
there.
it's all deep, but it resonated deeply, I should say, with me
Yeah,
today.
beautiful.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
glad to
Well,
visit with you.
yeah, it's always such a pleasure to have you and to connect. And my best to you and Luna today.
Oh,
And
thank you.
is it true that that Luna's staying home today?
I'm keeping her home today, yes.
Good, good. You guys have a wonderful day together.
Yep, we're going to have breakfast, so I will talk to you later.
Enjoy. Love you guys.
I love you. Bye.
Bye bye. Okay, we're bringing on Kelly. Okay, I just learned recently that Kelly has been returning to the Never Ending Story, and you guys, come on, give it up for Kelly and the Never Ending Story.
I had an intro ready for when you answered, but you totally hijacked me and got a better one. Thank you.
Yeah, you got like she's reading chapter by chapter the never ending story. Her last one is, I think, unless you did one last night, was 8, 9,
I,
and 10. Is that correct?
I did 10 and 11. Yeah, 8, 9, 10 last night. Yeah. No, that was
Okay.
last night, wasn't it? I
No, I
don't
think
know,
it was
guys.
2 nights ago.
Then last night was up to 13. That's 10,
Oh
11, 12.
man, I'm so behind.
Or 11,
12.
12. It's one day. You'll get there.
I'll get there. Yeah. How's it going out there in California lately?
Gosh. You know, do you have those like it's like not just a moment of deja vu, it's like days where like I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Like what reality am I living in? Like
That's not
everything
deja vu, dear.
it's either psychosis or something greater. But
Yeah, it might be psychosis.
that's how it feels though. I'm just like on a walk and
Gosh.
every house is amazing. Every yard, every tree. I'm just like, yeah, my life is still really hard. Nothing changed. But it's also like every time I go outside, it always happens. Like I'm like, oh, the world's so great.
Yeah.
Even in LA.
Look, I can even hear birds. Those birds are beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh.
We're just taking a moment before I break the silence for a number. And beautiful birds.
I counted from 0 up until I landed on a number that felt like a picture. 69. Which is
60.
ironic. It's a funny thing to say. It felt like a picture. That's not a coincidence or anything. But it's 69. That's the number I chose. But it was more like birds and trees and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. The generals say, rather than make the first move, it's better to wait and see. Rather than advance an inch, it's better to retreat a yard. This is called going forward without advancing, pushing back without weapons. There is no greater misfortune than to underestimate your enemy. Underestimating your enemy means thinking that he is evil. Thus you destroy your 3 treasures and become an enemy yourself. When 2 great forces oppose each other, the victory will go to the one who knows how to yield. Thoughts?
Yeah. I had some. I don't remember them now. I
Okay.
got stuck on 3 great treasures. And at the beginning, I thought, gosh, I really love that this comes out of it's the art of war. It's an interesting feeling, that word war, and being like such a, well, I think I am, calm female. Um, it doesn't appeal to me. So I don't fight like, just like excited. I'm not excited about fighting. And so, but yeah, it appeals to me in this context. Like it was like, yeah, it felt right, like at the very
Yeah.
beginning when the victory and the thought of fight. Strange.
So the 3 greatest treasures are simplicity, patience, and compassion,
Mm.
as referenced in chapter 67. So this is referencing back to 67.
Interesting.
So I'll read over that again. Underestimating your enemy means thinking that he is evil. Thus you destroy your 3 treasures. Your 3 treasures being simplicity, patience, and compassion.
Yeah. And we talked about this the other day, not here, but that every action is an act of love. Even the most perceived evil in our society is in a way that's twisted, and it's hard for us to understand. But
Yeah. No, it's important. It's important to have that grand scope. I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita, and Ram Dass says in terms of reading it, you read it once as yourself, and then you read it once as the person, as one of the people in, and I forget his name, the archer that Krishna is speaking to, and then you read it as Krishna. And it's really hard when, like, the difficult part, I think, for a lot of people would be reading it as Krishna, because Krishna is saying, hey, look, yeah, murder happens, what's up, like, that's all right,
Mm.
like, nothing, like, that's just part of this, like, there is, and that's what this is saying, like, you can't think of someone as evil, like that you have to understand that, like, this is all, like, there's a neutrality here, but it's not neutral in the sense of, like, hands off, but there is this neutrality to it all, and you don't want to destroy those treasures of simplicity and compassion. And there was another one. So yeah, so the generals have a saying: rather than make the first move, it's better to wait and see. Rather than advance an inch, it's better to retreat a yard. What are your thoughts there?
If you don't know what to do, if it's not clear, then don't get hasty.
Yeah, don't get hasty. Wait and see.
Yeah, allow.
Sometimes waiting to see, people can spend their lives waiting to see.
There's too much waiting and see too. Yeah,
Yeah, there is
maybe.
that.
I think so. Yeah.
But that's the thing. It says here, rather than make the first move, it's better to wait and see. So when
Yeah.
you find yourself in a predicament, it's okay. Let me not make the first move, and then wait and see what happens, and then move, right? And then, but sometimes rather than advance an inch, it's better than to retreat a yard. A lot of times we want to advance all the time, advance, because that really prizes our ego. We have moved forward into something.
I think of priming an engine, because a game of chess is an easy image for these words here. But it's like you're really like you're not showing your cards. You are showing your cards, but the other one, the other world, whatever it is that you are standing in front of, like you're just priming your engine for the game ahead. You're just like
Mm-hmm.
they're showing all their cards. They're gonna be like, okay, all right, fine. Like they're gonna think they have the upper hand. I mean, when you're thinking of war, which now I am, but like, yeah, like you don't. We all in chess, you don't win if you just make the first move. Like not always, like you still need to know what your opponent's thinking, who they are, like what's it about, you know.
Yeah. And if we bring this down to near the end, right? Underestimating your enemy means you're thinking of him as evil. You think that
Mm,
he is evil. Thus you destroy
yeah.
your three treasures and become an enemy yourself. To have an enemy is to be an enemy,
Mhm.
right? So rather than advance an inch, or rather than make the first move, it's better to wait and see. Maybe no first move will be made.
Yeah, that's true. And
Rather
then you
than
would know
advance an
that.
inch. Yeah, rather than advance an inch, it's better to retreat a yard. And I think all of that definitely comes down to this later thing. Like, there is no greater misfortune than underestimating your enemy. Like, if you make the first move, that means you think that you're just going to win. It's like there's no, like, that's why you're making the first move.
Within yourself, it's that enemy within yourself. You have to know
Yeah.
yourself. You really
Mm-hmm.
have to know yourself. You can't force it. You have to just be with you. You have to pause and know.
Yeah.
If you're
And
not
make it,
sure, like step back a big step. Yeah, retreat a yard. Like go back and say, okay, like wait, what's going on here? Don't just be like, I have to push forward. Like if it's not working, I always tell my kids, if you can't open it or make something work easily, stop. There's an easy way. Like there's always the way to do it, and then there's the way of forcing and breaking it.
that's right. I mean, sometimes the lid's just on too tight.
You tap it on the countertop.
You tap it, or you run it under hot water. It's like, got to loosen
Mm,
the jelly around the edge. It's like, that
the
sucks.
steel, yeah.
When it's on tight and it's stuck with jelly, dried jelly. Oh man, that is
I use
bad
my
news.
teeth. If I can get my teeth around it, I'm gonna admit it. I use my teeth. I did that yesterday, actually. But
Yeah. So you want to talk? No. So there's no greater misfortune than underestimating your enemy. even if it's a cap on a jelly jar. Underestimating your enemy means thinking that he is evil. Thus you destroy your 3 treasures and become an enemy yourself. Yeah.
I feel like it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And
I haven't read the line, and I'm gonna see if I can find it. Like, to have an enemy is to be an enemy. Like, that's such a that the first time I read that, and that's not here, but like this idea of you become an enemy yourself that's not what you want. You don't want to be someone's enemy.
it was a while ago where somebody was asking, like, how do I forgive? And talking about forgiveness and just saying that they just can't. And it came up a lot. It was last fall. And every time I was like, it's not, the forgiveness isn't about like excusing somebody else's action. It's just releasing the hate. It's releasing the anger within you. And we know like that forgiveness is that, right? But it's really like you can still think it's a wrong thing, but you have to find a way to not feel dominated by that anymore, just like it's about not being mad.
Yeah. The last part of this is when 2 great forces oppose each other. The victory will go to the one who knows how to yield. And I know we've addressed a number of different kinds of enemies, right? War, other individuals, and yourself. And it's interesting, like within you is Tao, and Tao yields to all things. We know that. So any conflict is happening within you from that which is not in touch with the Tao, like your mind or your body, and when you are in discord with the connection that you have to Tao. And because victory will go to the one who knows how to yield, Tao knows how to yield more than anybody and anything. And so every bit of discord is going to ultimately end as fruitless, because you will eventually yield to it, because victory will always go to the one who knows how to yield.
Water in the Grand Canyon. Water. It's like the Tao.
Yeah. It flows to the sea, to the sea, to the sea.
And it takes a little bit of something with it and just like mixes it back up and everything
Mhm.
becomes part of the same again.
Yeah.
I love ambiguity, and that's what came to mind about the Tao too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just don't have those expectations.
Right.
Like release that. Yeah.
Rather than make the first move, it's better to wait and see. I appreciate you coming up. It's always so nice to connect. I'm glad that you're reading The Never-Ending Story again.
Thanks. Me too.
How's your new place in Arizona?
Oh, I'm sure it's good. Hopefully.
Okay, well, good.
They're with their dad like a lot this week. And it's better. It's easier. I've actually been a little sick, but so I haven't really like done
You're
any.
sick?
Yeah, but
Oh,
it's all right. But
well, take care of yourself, because I know those heart problems will land you back. So
I'm
please
trying.
care for yourself. Yeah.
That's why I'm here. I'm walking. I'm talking. So thank you for
Yeah,
being here
keep
too.
it up. Absolutely, absolutely. It's always nice to connect. I'm glad you're up and about and walking around and listening to the birds and taking in some fresh air.
Thank you, everybody else that's here as well. We'll
Yep,
talk again soon. Bye, Martin.
you're getting all the support.
All right.
All right.
See you tomorrow,
Have a
maybe.
great day. Yeah,
You too.
maybe.
You
Tomorrow's
too.
Friday. I'll
Bye.
be here.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Okay. We covered 49 Three of us covered 49. Jennifer, Andy, and I all covered 49 today. 49 was a big number. We did 69, 12, and 21. So all very interesting conversations. I'm grateful for each and every one of you for joining me and helping me cover some of the Tao. I appreciate your patience for those who waited, and I appreciate all of the shares that everybody was able to contribute. So thank you so much. And nobody's in line. So if you did want to come up, come on up. I am going to start to sign off because nobody's in line, and I covered my number today. So I'm happy and I am complete. Once again, I'm Martin John. If you benefit from the work that I do here, consider giving me a tip over at Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia. I host the Recover Yourself podcast. I also have workshops coming up starting on Tuesday the 17th and every Tuesday for 6 weeks beyond that. So if you're interested in learning about those, reach out to me. Sonia's going to come up and we're going to talk a little bit more about the Tao. Sonia, thank you for your patience and coming
Hey,
back. I
Martin
appreciate
John.
it.
Yeah, no, I just had to pop out a little bit. So I thought if you're
Yeah,
still here, I'll
absolutely.
catch you later, right?
Yeah, here we
Yeah,
are. Thank you. So, so let's dive right in. We've done this
yeah.
before. You got a number between 1 and 81?
I thought I'd do 11 today.
11. Off we go to 11. 11 is a really beautiful it's a beautiful verse that I have really understood the balance between masculine and feminine with, and something that really is really beautiful. And so we join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it's the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. Thoughts?
Mm. Yeah, the balance part you mentioned is actually something that I've been, kind of working on these last few months.
Yeah. Balance is tough, because like here in the world, we get to see things. We get to look at things. We get to see the walls of a house. We get to see the exterior of a house. We get to see the roof. But we don't get to see the magic that makes it.
Mhm.
Because, as you're looking at the house, you're actually looking through space. And the magic that makes the house is the space that you're looking through only inside the house. And
Interesting.
that structure, those spokes, the clay, the house, the wood, all of that is what we see.
Hmm.
But we can't see the thing that makes it usable. And that's the space.
Mm. No, I mean, like for me, it's mm, just being, stable in all in all things, right? It's
Yeah.
not just about what is seeing and stuff like that. It's just being in that even keel throughout life's up and down, that we can find beautiful things every moment.
Hmm.
Uh, it's not so much as whether seeing or anything. It's just um, enjoying things for the way they are, and yeah, I mean, the example they gave, for sure. I mean, if you can analyze that is how it would be, right? But just for me, just even, yeah, yesterday, I mean, earlier, I was thinking, the rain fall on my head, and then just looking at the process itself, the all inclusive, right? What we call is nature and the things that being produced, and right from the moment, the weather, I used to like, oh, it's another rainy day, and didn't realize how, you know what the awesomeness of it all, to be able to have that rain, and then it goes towards not only us, the trees and everything. It makes that kind of balance, you know.
Right.
So
And so
just
in this,
appreciating.
right,
Yeah.
and in that, what you're saying is the rain is the structure, the rain is the wood of the house.
Mhm.
But what the magic is, what we use actually, like, because you used the structure of this beautiful energy of rain and renewal and nourishment as a
Mhm.
place to be like, oh, it's raining. That was a
Mhm.
place to, like, to be. But when you're able to allow that, allow it to be, and you just observe it in its awe, that's the hole in the middle of the hub. That's the
Mhm.
clay that makes the pot, right? Like the rain is just the clay,
Mhm.
but where you like put the stuff, that's what fills you up,
Mhm.
right? The rain, of course the rain will happen, but that's just what you're seeing.
Mhm.
The depth of all that you are and how that connects to the nature around you, that is, that's the hole in the wagon, in the wheel, right? That's what makes things move. The
Mhm.
rain doesn't, like, the rain, yes, okay, it nourishes and it does stuff, but it's just what we see.
Mhm.
When we can feel and balance, that's the depth that we can
Mhm.
have.
Yeah, I guess I don't see the, the too much of the borders or the distinction too much now. I just like whatever comes, I just absorb, and
Yeah,
so there's no like divisions between like the way we say positive, negative. It's just like just be, Yeah.
yeah, there is no positive and negative, there never was.
Mm-hmm. So it's not like borders in between. I just feel like right now I'm just like, there is that awesomeness that is life, and I just want to be able to absorb and enjoy, you know, and
And
whatever
but
it is around me, right? There
yeah,
is no categories. There's no like, in terms of communication, we can try to label it, but that in itself is limiting, right? So
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
yeah, so I just like for part of, I don't know what drawn me here today, but but I guess I wanted to kind of like a little kind of like bid farewell almost, right, to some of the things here, right, uh,
Yeah, no, I
and you
mean, if there's a farewell, then there's a separation, right?
mhm, perhaps, but you are transcending certain in many ways, right, this level, perhaps even
There is
this.
no level.
Yeah, if there is, right? Or
There
I don't
isn't.
know how to express it, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
you
like,
are, you right, like, and that's what, and I do think that that's what we're looking at here, right? We join
mhm,
spokes together in a wheel. That wheel is, I mean, you join spokes together to create a wheel of levels,
mhm,
right? We shape clay into a pot, but it's the emptiness that we use. It's the
mhm,
emptiness. It's literally, it isn't something, right? It is the absence. And it's not even the absence of something, because beyond being, there is non being.
mhm,
And that is what exists. And that's the only thing that exists, right? And like all of the edges, like, right, the rain or the pot or the house, they are all just ways of separating and observing that which is God, right? Even your skin is only a way to observe how this separates, but it's not separate, right? It's only a way, and that's the masculine and feminine. The feminine exists in all things, all ways, even in the void beyond the universe. And then the edge of the universe gets created so that we can witness the universe so that we can experience the universe. And then the planets get experienced, so there is the masculine within that. And then onward down to all that we are. And there is nothing here, right? And that is where all things reside, in
Mm,
that which can yield to that. You yield to the rain to be present. You yield to your life. You yield to your experience.
mm,
And there is no label. There is literally nothing. And it isn't even, it's not even beautiful any longer. It just is. And it
mhm.
always was.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
We work with being, right? Like the last lines of this is we work with being, but non-being is what we use. We can't not work with being. Like you were saying, you create words and labels so that you can have these provisional understandings. You work with being. You work with being. You work with rain. You work with your body. You work with language. You work with other people.
Mhm,
But it is non-being that we use. It is beyond that gets used. Your mind and your observation of the rain and the separateness brings you to uh, the state of being that is purely relieved of the structure. So if you tear a house down, all you're doing is seeing the space that was always there, just no longer housed within the walls. Now it is space. Now it is back to its original form, in which we will all return to as well when we die. We will shed our bodies, and our bodies will continue to nourish the earth while our consciousness continues to be part of all things. And we then return to being at one with everything without the wheel, without the pot, without the house having to separate, because we don't have to use and we don't have to do anymore. Because we do with being, but it's non-being that we use. Like that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of everything, is that
mhm,
it is nothing and it is here within all things.
mm, mm. Thanks for. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I popped in anyways. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Mm, thanks. That's all I
Absolutely.
can say.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Have a
So,
wonderful day.
you too. You take care. Bye bye.
You as well. Yes. Just going to sit with that for a moment. That was beautiful. Intellect is a beautiful thing, but it's just another wheel. And we work with being, but non-being is what we use. We work with being because we can't not, right? We have a structure. We have the skin. It's obvious. We see it. The separation that we have from all that is, like all of that crazy talk. But we are still attached to non-being everywhere. Right? Every time I look out the window, I just see space, and then I see a house, and I'm like, within that house is space. Wow, that's amazing. That's in me too. We learn about science and we say, how much space is in a cell? We're filled with space. That space is non-being. And that's what we use. That's what we use. Ugh, so gorgeous. So beautiful. Once again, I'm Martin John. I host the Tao of the Day, weekdays on Wisdom. And I'm glad that you guys came up and shared with me. Love you guys so much. All the love that you guys give me fills me. And so I appreciate you. And I hope that these talks just inspire you to understand, just inspire you, period. I don't care how they inspire you. I just hope they inspire you. They inspire you to go murder people. Well, I'm sorry for them, but I'm glad you're inspired. Inspired to be who you are. That's what I want. I want that's everything. That's why I host my podcast, Recover Yourself, because I want you to be who you are. I don't want to tell you how to do that, but you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out how to do that. And I'm glad that you're with me. Thank you so much. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.